Okay, so this lesson is about placing objects in space, okay? Ideally, we'd have a still life set up somewhere, right, for us to look at, understand the space surrounding the objects themselves and the space that the objects occupy. Okay, and in this particular case, we're going to just use this reference, or if you have objects at home, that's fine, or wherever you are, that's fine. But here we have a set of objects that we can make reference to, and this is a point of departure, right? This is a reference to see various forms, okay, and characteristics of various objects, but there's a similarity to all these objects, and that similarity is that they are symmetrical. In other words, they have a center axis, right? And you are able to symmetrically go around the object. I mean, the pear is a little bit amorphic slightly, and the cube is angular, etc. But in a sort of a basic analysis, these are symmetrical objects, okay? And it just makes it a little easier for at this time to use symmetrical objects to study placing them into the space of the page, okay? And so we're going to use charcoal, okay, piece of charcoal. We're going to get several pieces of newsprint paper, okay? And we're going to analyze the objects themselves, okay? And this is all about really getting used to placing objects in space, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to very lightly draw in our master cube. Okay, very lightly. Okay, I'm going to put the back plane a little higher up. Okay, nice and soft. Okay. Okay, so what does this do? This creates a large space, okay, within which we can place these objects, okay? This is the space moving forward, right, that these objects would be sitting on, right? So the master cube is like it's a crutch to help us visualize this space, right? And so things that are closest to us are here, and things that are further away from us are back there, right? And if we look at the dynamic here, the distances as we get closer, right? This distance gets longer and longer, or longer or shorter, either which way you go, okay, between the two, right, visually. Okay, so we're going to analyze these objects in the sense that they're all subject to gravity. They all have a footprint, right? So if I was to take the cup and place it into this volume, right, I would first draw the footprint of the cup, the footprint as it fits in the space. And then I would draw the center axis of the cup, okay? And I would go around the cup, right? First I should put a couple tick marks to understand where I'm going with this, right? And I'm going around the full volume of the cup. Okay, and there you go. And so again, this shows us the descriptive direction, okay, of the object. Okay? And at this point, we're not dealing with the line of sight or anything like that, and this may seem a little bit out of skew, but the space is plastic, and that's the point. In other words, it's malleable. Okay? So let's try placing another object. Let's try, for example, the pear. Okay? And the footprint of the pear, let's make it right about here. Right? Since it's a small footprint, actually, underneath the belly of the pear. And the pear is kind of, has a little bit of movement. It's amorphic, but symmetrical in a way, right? And it's narrower at the top. It's got that belly. And so here we go. I'm going around the pear to understand the volume of it. Okay. There you go. Okay, we're going around it to understand it. We're not doing any contour lines. And again, this provides us the descriptive direction of the object, right? To optimize our illusion, right? And then so you can see how this begins to show us the relative space between the objects, right? And so let's put an apple in front here, right? So over here, we can make the footprint of the apple. We're looking down at the apple a little bit. The footprint, the center axis is right about there. That dictates the height of the apple, okay? And so in this particular case, we're kind of looking down at the apple. It's in closer to us, in front of us, right? And the apple is wide here, and it narrows down. And so I'm going back, around the back. I'm visualizing this front, going around the back, the front, and then going around the back again, around the front, the back again, around the front, right? And here you go, right? And there's the apple, and this gives us the dominant direction of the descriptive line of the apple. So it's really cool. It's like a hologram, right? And this way I'm able to locate the objects in the space in a coherent manner, right? They relate to each other, okay? What if I am to change the scale a little bit, and what if I place another object in here, like the wine glass? The wine glass, right? Let's put it right up here on the left side, right? So I'm kind of looking down at the base, right? The footprint of the object, footprint of the glass is right about there, right? The stem is sort of indicating the center axis. And then it goes up, right? That dictates the height of the object, right? And then there's the flute, the widening of the flute of the glass, okay? And so I'm going around the stem of the glass, around, because the stem is round itself, right? Round up to this point, and then I start flaring out, creating the flute part of the glass, right? And I'm getting a sense of the full volume of the glass. Right? And there's your glass, right? And here you can see how you can locate the liquid. Let's say if there was liquid in the glass, falls right in there, right? And that's our descriptive direction. Okay, so you can see where all this is going. And if we implement the light source, right, coming from the left side, you can see again how the shadows play out right? Shadows will go from left to right, right? Shadows following the direction of the space of the page. Okay, but that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, right? And so there's no contour lines. I'm just going around the volume, right? And I'm just showing you where all this is going. So what you want to do is you want to practice this several times, okay? And look at, I'm drawing the objects nice and big, right? So they occupy the space nicely, right? This is a point of departure. That's just a reference, okay? So let's try another one. Okay, so we first indicate the master cube. Okay. Okay, again, I'm going to put that back plane in towards the back, so it gives me a lot of space to put my objects into. Okay, and again, things further away are going to be closer to each other, and then it opens up as we get closer. Okay, the space is moving this way, right? It's just a matter of getting used to visualizing space, right? And some of you may be wondering, how do I do the cube, right? So the cube has a cubical footprint, right? Right? And so you would go around it in that same way, hitting all the corners. It's hard to do, but it's doable, right? Hitting the corners, going around the cube. Right? And there's your cube. Right? And it gives us the directionality of the sides, the planes, this way, that way. Okay, very important when you're wondering what direction the lines go in to add value. Again, gives us direction of the value, right? You can even go inside the box, use it as a box, okay? So you can see how this approach deals with the total volume of the object, right? So vice versa. So here, let's go. I just want to show you something. Okay, let's take a one of those. Well, let's see. Okay, maybe this object here, right? Okay, so here's the footprint, right? And then it narrows in a little bit, and there's a belly. Right, it goes up, narrows neck. Okay, the center axis is right about there. Okay, should have done that first, right? So we're going around, and flares out, and I'm going around the back, front, back, front, back, front, and following, narrows out, and then the top of the thing. Okay, pretty cool, right? And so this definitely gives you the volume of this object, right? See how you can see through it, right? All these reflections and so forth. And if you feel like it's a little messed up, you can go over it lightly and kind of straighten it out, balance it out. The main thing is to try to strive to be true to your form, right? And so if I was to encapsulate this object in a volume to show the relativistic aspect of this, right? Right? Seeing right through the object. Right? So the object is within a volume. Okay? Pretty cool, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to get a sense of the volume and space. Okay? Okay. And then for the sake of showing again, let's try this large vase, right? So the large vase, there's its footprint. Let's, oops, down the center, the height of the vase, let's make it like that. It's got a big belly, right? And then it narrows down to about there. And so again, I'm going to practice going around the volume, and I'm visualizing this, right? Nice and easy. Notice my whole arm is swinging, right? And the idea is to get a nice even back around the front. It takes a little practice. That's why we're going to do this many, many times, right? Okay, look at that. Right, so again, like I said, if it feels wobbly or it's off-center, you can always go around it and solidify it. But what I want you to do is to try to be as true to the form as possible. In other words, try to make this the shape of your object look like what you're looking at. Okay. Again, we can put a practice again with that smaller vase, the blue one. Put it in the distance. Right. A little bit of a flare. Okay, and I'm just practicing. There you go. Right, there's a vase. Right, and look at the distances, the space that you've created between these objects. I can go around that object, come around here, go behind the cube, come out the back, go around this vase, right? Go inside the vase. Okay? So the space and the volume creates that illusion of depth, and that's what you want to try to master here, right? The location. And when we go to, and all this is leading towards drawing and designing a still life. In other words, getting a real good sense for the objects themselves, right? And being able to place them and being able to control the scale of things, right? And when we're using the full page, right, as a picture plane, we want to be able to balance the objects, right, themselves with the space surrounding the objects. So there's a balance between the two, right? Because our commitment is to the drawing, the picture plane, the illusion, right? If you think about it, once your drawing is done, it takes on a life of its own, right? And it stands alone. People don't see the reference. Your commitment is 100% to the drawing, right? So that's okay. The approach here. So let's practice this some more. And let's remember that our reference is a point of departure. It's only there for information and detail, right? Our commitment is to the drawing. So let's again, drawing a master cube. Okay, This is the outside perimeter. Very important to be conscious of that outside perimeter because it's what's closest to us, right? And that represents what's the direction and what's furthest from us. Okay? You know, and our line of sight is way up there off the page, right? We're kind of looking down at these objects, right? So let's practice placing a few more objects, right? Let's try the wine bottle, okay? It's got a very sort of an elegant shape to it, right? So we're going to try to duplicate that. I'm going to put it in the foreground so I can make a nice large wine bottle. So there's my footprint, right? And then my center axis of the object is about yay high, right? And notice I've placed the wine bottle as close to us, right? And so it goes straight up till about here, and then begins to sort of taper all the way up to the top. Okay, and here we go. And I'm trying to go, I'm going around the back to the front, back to the front, and notice my whole arm is swinging while I'm doing this. Right, back around the front. Okay. Back, front, back, front, back. All right. Okay. And there we have a bottle. So a little bit fat, not quite as elegant as that, but that's the nice shape. And if I need to, like I said, do any adjusting, I can always go in there and make it nice and solid, right? And so look, what's so interesting is like I can, if the bottle was transparent, I can draw on the inside of it or I can draw on the front of it, okay? And then our dominant line direction is going around the bottle here like that, right? Okay, what can we do? All right, so let's place a wine glass right next to the bottle, right? So here's the, let's see, the footprint, center axis, okay? And about to there, and then the flute starts, okay, goes to about there. Right, and there's your wine glass in full volume. Okay, if you wanted to put some fluid in there. Okay. All right. Let's place a an app or a vase. That vase way in the back there, right? So here's the footprint, right? The belly goes up, the center axis. Belly narrows down, right? Here we go. Okay, and there's the vase space, right? And so look at how there's a coherent, relativistic space between these objects, right? And we can now put something in the foreground here. The pear maybe, right? And Right here, there's a little movement to the pair, right? Okay. I'm just going to keep practicing this, right? The pair. Okay. We can place a cup here. Center axis, right? Bring it to about there. Okay. There you go. And so this is the kind of thing you want to practice. You want to practice just putting a bunch of objects into the space, right? Okay, I can take advantage and put something else over here. How about another bottle? All right. Let's see if I can make this one a little bit more elegant. Right? I'm trying to stay even on the two sides of the center axis, right? Narrows down slowly. Right? Not bad. Right? The bottle's transparent. Okay, what if we put a little apple in the distance here? There's a footprint. A little fat apple there. Going around it, around it, around it. And there you go. There's an apple in distance. You can see how all this takes on a relativistic space, right? These objects have space between each other, etc., right? And if we were to, where this is all going, if we were at a light source, right, your shadow areas would be filling in like that, right? And your dominant descriptive direction, and we're always, right, using our line work to describe the volume of the object, right, to maximize our illusion. Okay? Very good. And so there's all kinds of things you can do to reinforce the knowledge of how to place an object in space. Again, descriptive direction of the volume of the object. Right? Very good. And the drawing is relativistic, right? Okay, so let's practice this again. Okay, got a new sheet of paper. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my master cube. Right, nice and light. The back plane. It's just a visual reference, right? The space is coming towards us like this. Right? Okay, so let's try a large apple, right? The footprint of the apple. Let's make it that big. It's going to have a little broader top to it. This one's a little different. It's got a little bit of a belly to it, right? Okay. And so again, to reinforce this idea is that these objects occupy a volume, right? They all visually occupy a volume, right? There's the height to the volume, the width, and length, right? And it creates for a relativistic drawing, okay? Right, and the height. Okay? Right? And so you can see how this direction, right, is very similar to this side of the apple, right? It's going this way, right? And if you want to do a descriptive line on the height of the apple, see this line? It's going in that direction. Now, if you go on this side of the apple, notice it's going that way, the line. Okay? This is very important to have a sense of this volume and the orientation of line direction with volume, right? It's going back in space, right? Okay. And again, this is the strategy for optimizing your illusion as you draw. Okay? Okay, let's try another one. That little glass, that little interesting glass object there. All right, so I'm gonna put down a footprint. Okay, and I'm going to put it on a center axis. Okay, I'm going to tick in the points at which the form changes as I go around it. Okay, and so there we go. And so now I'm going to narrow it down, and I'm going for the next set of points. And this takes practice, you know. I'm making it look easy, but with a little practice, okay, that's why we're doing this over and over and over, right? Okay, and there's our like glass vase. And if I was to lay down a contour line, there it would be, right? And if I was to draft the volume going around it, right? A little crooked, but I think you get the idea. Okay? There we go. Okay? And there's our object in this space. The height, the width, and the length. Okay?